Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. So in a minute, I'm going to get to plays of the game, key drives of the game, etc., and then a few thoughts on Jaden Daniels. Wasn't able to dive as deep into the defense as I wanted to on Monday, trying to I'm probably do some of that for Tuesday, and then I'm going to have Logan Paulson on for Wednesday. So there won't be any live stream Tuesday night this time, just with this holiday week, et cetera. It's going to make it difficult. And so we're going to have Logan Paulson. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow, and then we're going to put that out on Wednesday. So tune in for that one. So anyway, before I get to plays of the game, et cetera, and it's, listen, man, three losses in a row. It's getting tough here, folks. We know this feeling. You guys have been through this before. We've seen this before. So we'll see how this iteration of the Commanders pulls out of it. And one thing that Dan Quinn told us on Monday, it's like, it's, and this is true, it's really easy to adhere to standards when you're winning. The key is, can you do that when you're losing and when things aren't going as well? And so we're going to really learn a lot about the direction of this particular group. I still like the direction long-term for this franchise. I said that in the beginning of the year. That hasn't changed. I think you got your quarterback, and then now you just got to get some more parts around him. And I think you got to beef up that line, not just in terms of starters. I think you can always improve there, but also in terms of depth. So there you go. But that's for discussion for another time. And but what I also did want to discuss is two of the injuries. So we know that Austin Eckler, Dan Quinn said that tests on him where they came back, they were good. So, but he's still going to be in the concussion protocol. We all know how bad that looked and how woozy he looked walking off. But he's in the concussion protocol. But the good thing is he's out of the hospital. He's doing fine, et cetera. Then Andrew Wiley in the concussion protocol. Brian Robinson has the ankle. We don't know the sprained right ankle and don't know how bad it is just yet. I think we'll learn a lot more as we go through the week, as it always has been the case with this group. They're very quiet about injuries, very mum. So we don't learn a ton other than what we see day by day. So you might get frustrated at that. And I would say this, if you don't want leaks at a place, if you want to learn about this stuff, you want the leaks. If you don't want the leaks, you don't learn about this stuff. It's as simple as that. So anyway, I would like to know more, just like you, about the severity of things, but we're not there yet. So anyway, but we'll learn about more. And then Chris Rodriguez still out there. Now he was, as I record this, he remained unsigned. I do expect him to come back. First of all, they're going to need some more backs here. Because I can't imagine that both Eckler and Robinson would be able to play against Tennessee on Sunday. So, but the expectation for me as I record this is that Rodriguez would be back. But as of now, when I'm recording this, he is not yet back. So anyway, there you go. That's the update. And it's a tough place for this team to be because Tennessee's playing better. I can talk about them way more later in the week, probably on Saturday, and then get you ready for that game because this is a big game. They're all big at this point. You need to get back on the winning track, and Tennessee is actually playing better. So anyway, so let's start with play of the game. Listen, man, the obvious one is it's obvious that kick return is the play of the game, and just because of how the situation, right? They Washington scores to go down 3. You got 3 minutes left. You got 2 timeouts, and you kick it to Turpin, and he's obviously a very good returner, a very dangerous returner. But you also have a kicker, Austin Seibert. And I'm going to read you some stats here because I think this is important to note when you're talking about, because I know some people wonder, why did you kick it to him? Why not just kick it out of the end zone? Well, here's why. First of all, it's not as easy as it sounds, especially for Austin Seibert. Since 2019, of kickers with 125 kickoffs or more, Seibert ranks 44th in touchback percentage at 33.2. So that's a pretty bad percentage. So that's, you want to know why you don't you can't assume that he's going to get into the end zone. It has never been a strength of his. This style of kickoff gives him a different way to do things, which is, as he said, kick a dirty ball. And he did. And here's the thing. It worked because Turpin muffed it, gets back into inside the 5, I think it was. And you come out and you had a couple guys with a chance to tackle him at the 12-yard line. If you make the play there, you have Dallas with the first down, 3 minutes left. You again 2 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning. And if you can stop them 3 and out, now you're in position to drive for a potential game tying field goal. Now, I will say, based on how everything unfolded, a field goal would not have been a definite proposition there too. So I think we know that because they missed a 35-yard extra point. But maybe you do better and you get a touchdown in that situation. Bottom line is though, you give yourself a really good chance. Now, on the play, a couple of things you'll see. I'm going to put up some clips here, but you'll see Jeremy Reeves and Jordan McGee are both in position to should be able to make that play. Now, Turpin starts to his right, which makes Reeves go to his left. And then McGee starts to kind of change his angle a little bit, which then when Turpin spins and comes back, gives him that lane to go through. So that, to be honest, that's about all he needed there because once you got through that first wave, man, it was basically a wrap. Now, here's the other thing. And some of you pointed this out on Twitter, but I also saw this during the game, and I actually ran some of these by somebody who is very familiar with NFL rules. So it looks like here that Mike Samerstill gets pushed in the back. Now, the one thing, this is something I want to check more on to see, is this a legit penalty? Should it have been called? And I think sometimes it probably would have been. But he gets shoved pushed in the back there, and you can make a case. It certainly does make it impact the play because he's right there. If you're not getting pushed, maybe you get at least trip him up or something like that. Then there was also, and I'm not including this picture because I'm not quite sure, but because it's really hard to tell. But Jeremy McNichols kind of gets bear hugged right off, early on by a Dallas blocker. But I couldn't tell if it was really holding or not. And just because it was a harder line of vision, I think, but also to see, does he get tugged as he pulls away from the defender, and does that impact the play? That's a thing I couldn't tell. So, but I would say, suffice to say, like, I think that was something that I'm going to ask Jeremy McNichols about when I have a chance in the locker room this week, because it was certainly something that stood out. And same with Sammer still, like, if he thinks now, the one thing I would note about this group in general, they do not make, you don't hear a lot about some of these calls after the game. Like we used to hear a decent amount. We're not hearing it now, but doesn't mean they weren't penalties or that they wouldn't be upset about it. Anyway, that obviously changes everything right there. And then, I mean, play of the game too, you obviously is Seibert's missed extra point, but we saw it, right? But I wanted to explain more on this one because I think this was a massive, obviously, massive situation, because if you pin them, again, at the 12-yard line, who knows what happens? Maybe they run out the clock. Maybe they get a punt. You get the ball inside the 50, and you're starting there with, with a lot of time left on the clock to do something damaging. So anyway, I did have a key play part two because it was middle of the fourth quarter, and they're down 13-9, and you still have a chance. You're still in this game for sure. And they were in the game at the end because they had, all they had to do was kick an extra point. But in this situation, you get the ball to John Bates, and that fumble was a massive killer. It's a first down play. You get a good gain on first down. It would have been out to the Washington 45-yard line, and he just gets stripped of the ball. And there's 8 minutes left in the game. It leads to a short field for Dallas. A couple plays later, it leads to a 22-yard touchdown pass, in which it appeared there was confusion on the play by the secondary. Or at least, let me say this, I'm not sure there was confusion because it seemed like guys played it the way they thought they're supposed to play it. But on the play, you have Quan Martin's deep middle. Well, before the snap, he rotates over to the right side. You have Benjamin St-Juste covering CeeDee Lamb on the outside on the left. Well, Martin rotates over because he's going to help St-Juste over the top. I will say, if you get when, and I don't know, I know you're getting tired hearing this because you got to get him out there, but Marshawn Lattimore, if he's in the game in that situation, you're not having to rotate somebody over, and you keep Martin in the middle. But now you did, so it looks like there's some man coverage over on the outside. And then you also have Jeremy Chin over the tight end. He starts to carry him, and then he lets him go because clearly for him, he's thinking that Quan Martin is still over the top. So we've talked about miscommunication, or at least communicating what you're doing on the play, or communicating what your roles are, or whatever, whether that was whether it was a call in the huddle or whether it was something that changed at the line. I don't know, but what I do know is it was a massive screw up at a really unfortunate time. And it all resulted from that fumble by John Bates. Because if you get that first down and 10 at the 45, you're starting to roll, you get a little bit of momentum, maybe you get some things going, and who knows? But that changed everything. So that's why I wanted to mention that, because that was a major play as well. So All right, now key drive of the game. So I have two of them, and one of them is not a very pretty one because I think it. Well, I'll get to this in a minute. So to me, the key drive, um, Washington. All right, so this to me is a big one. So Washington to me loses this game early. They lost this game in the first quarter with the field position they had, et cetera. Like we all saw what happened late. You lost this game early. So Commanders take over at the Dallas 47 after a fumble recovery. On the preceding series, to me, 4th down and 2, they kicked a field goal. I said it at the time, and I would say it now. I would have gone for that one, and I'm still confused as to why they did not. And it hasn't been something that's been, haven't really. Let me tell you something about like press conferences. People get really angry about some questions that get asked or don't ask. So everybody's got different stories to write. So even today, like we had Dan Quinn in a conference call, there are a lot of things I'd like to ask him. I get one question. My story isn't about a 4th and 2 call, but I would like to know more about, hey, how close were you to going for it? Early in the year you went for it. This time you didn't. Why? I would have gone for it, and I expected them to go for it. And here's the other thing: Quinn told us today that one of the things he felt like during when they were playing well, and how loose some of the guys were playing, and just playing with energy, playing with that, with their identity, etc. Well, to me, that 4th down and 2 falls into that category personally. That do the same, right? If you want your players to play this way, call the game this way too. That's how I would view it. And I don't quite get why they didn't go for it. And they had you have a quarterback who can run the ball against a defense that struggles to stop quarterback runs. So it adds another element. It's just, I didn't get that one. Anyways, so it leads to this other drive, the one I'm talking about, which to me is the key drive of the game. You take over at the Dallas 47 after a turnover. Great situation. And they botched it, 3 and out. It was not a turning point necessarily in the game, but it was a chance to start to put the game in hand right away. You're up 3-0, and you've caused some issues for them. They missed field goals. It hasn't been going right for them, and you kept them around because you couldn't take advantage of situations like this. So the first down, take a shot to Terry McLaurin. I like that. Like that's what you do. Big play. You got your guy one-on-one. You got him on the outside, and you take a shot. I liked it. Now, the only thing I didn't like on that is that it wasn't complete. Now, at first, I wondered, did McLaurin get nudged to the side and not give Jaden Daniels enough room to make that throw? Well, the answer is no. So he takes an inside release, then cuts back outside and going up the numbers, and he drifts because the ball drifts him, takes him out there. If the ball, this is the way I kind of look at this is about a yard or two from being a really, really good play, and just maybe the angle of the ball a little bit. If you don't have to have them drift so much and you run out of room to the outside, did the ball have to go that much to the sideline? It's just a missed throw. So misplay, right? And it happens. Those are tough ones to complete. That's why they're a lower percentage, but a worthy shot because Jaden does throw those well. Early in the year, we've seen those completed. We saw it against the Browns. We saw the Bengals dropping dimes in the bucket, right? And this one, it just didn't go. But I like the play call. Be aggressive in that situation. Okay. Second down, you have second and 10. You get a 3-yard pass to Zach Ertz on the outside. The one thing I have with that, you had the motion of the play. You have the center pulling to his left. The linebacker 13, the dude's fast, Overshawn, widens a little bit to his right, a step or two to the right. Now you got Noah Brown in a hitch. You probably get 7 or 8 yards there, and you're putting yourself in a better spot on third down. But he opted for the route to Eckler, 3 yards. Now it's 3rd and 7 instead of possibly 3rd and 3, maybe even better than that. That was a throw where it certainly looked like before the snap he was going to go to Ertz all the way, but and 13, the Dallas linebacker does recover and is getting over there quick, but I still think you can make that throw, and he's going to be at the 40-yard line for sure. So that was a tough one. And then on third down, it's 3rd and 7. Then you get the Dallas pressure and the 5-man fronts. Dallas, I think it was 16 5-man pressures. That's the most they've sent all year. There have been multiple teams that have sent their most 5-man pressures against Washington, at least to that game, or at least to that point in the season. Dallas did the same. So on this one, you have again, 13 blitzes, man. They got some speed at linebacker, and those two, he and Parsons together, really make it difficult for quarterbacks, should make it more difficult for quarterbacks. But here you had Micah Parsons rushing inside, as lined up inside as a down lineman, rushes inside of Cosme and gets inside there. You have Wiley getting moved back by the defensive end. And then what you had is you had 13 was lined up over the guard, loops around to the outside. So he's going to come up to the backside. Excuse my hand there if you're watching on YouTube, but it comes into the inside, or it comes to Daniel's left side. And they're going to force Daniels out to the right. Whether it's by design or not, that's what happens. And it just so happens that 4 routes are on the other side. One-on-ones. And so when he gets forced to his right, there's one guy on that side, you got nothing there, and he has to throw it away. But he also had to, if Wiley isn't getting pushed back as much on this play, and it happens, but if he's not getting pushed back as much on this play, then maybe Daniels has the more ability to get outside and maybe pick it up with his legs. But you don't, and you got Micah Parsons chasing behind you, you're in trouble, had to throw it away, wasted series, then you have to punt. And the problem is too, the next drive they started. This was a should have put the key sequence of the game, because the other drive, the 4th and 2, and then the missed field goal, bad. This one, bad. Next drive, they started on their own 42, and they end up having to punt. So look at those 3 series. They got 3 great situations, and they got 0 points on all those. They lost the game right there, folks. All the stuff that happened later wouldn't have needed to happen, or wouldn't have mattered if you handle your business in this quarter. This is where they lost the game, period, exclamation point, end of sentence. And if you, again, handle that situation better all around, whether it's play calling, execution, all of that, and it's a different outcome. You jump on that team 10-0 or so, you turn them into maybe a little bit more one-dimensional thing, who knows where it goes, but you just take control of the game. And instead you let them late in the first half with a ridiculously easy drive for Dallas with a 41-yard deep ball by a quarterback who routinely underthrows deep balls. Just not a good look, but you allowed them to stay in the game with that. And that right before halftime, that just felt like, you lost whatever. If there was any momentum, you lost it. You lost some of it there temporarily. So anyway, key drive part 2. So here we go. Washington's up 9-3. They just score. So coming out of halftime, a good drive, despite what I said about that last drive in the first half, you came back, you did what you should, you go out, you move down the field, a good drive, capped by a missed extra point. But okay, you're up 6, you got things going, and there you go. But Dallas goes down, takes the lead. You never get it back. So that, like I said, all these other drives in the game, like you lost the lead here, and now you're playing catch up from there, and it just put them in a hole. Even though it's only 10-9, it certainly changed the tenor of the game. Like they responded right away on your field after you had scored. Like the defense needed to bow up there and stop them, get them off the field, whatever. Couldn't do it. So 9-yard run on first down gets it started on that one. You get Cleveland Farrell gets wide on there. You have Johnny Newton doubled on that one. You get moved back, creates a hole, and Dallas with the 9-yard run. But the problem is there were other issues that flashed in this drive. They got no pressure all game, and this drive was a lot of that too. Like no pressure, very little pressure whatsoever. And then there were some coverage mishaps. Like there was a 16-yard play on this one where there's a boot action and Rush is rolling to his right, where Dorrance Armstrong is covering the receiver who's just coming down the line. He went behind the formations, coming down the line. Armstrong's on him. So Bobby Wagner's starting to come over. He sees Armstrong on him. Because he sees Armstrong on him, and not an ideal matchup, but it's flat and he's there. And Rush is going to turn it up or throw it, whatever. Maybe he's going to wait for receiver to do something. But because that Wagner kind of drops to the middle, and then around the same time, Armstrong decides to go run at Cooper Rush, drops it off, drops off the receiver, he vacates, 16-yard gain. So just a mishap, etc. Then you had an 18-yard pass to tight end, and this one there was a play action. Looks like Wagner doesn't drop deep enough. And looking at it, and I don't know if I'll just say this: Whether he did or he didn't, there was a 5 or 6 yard gap between him and the receiver at the tight end. So it became more, actually more than that. It became an easy throw for Rush to make. On the other side, Frankie Louvu drops. It's about a couple yards deeper. There's a two deep safety there. So the safeties aren't necessarily supposed to come up. They're not driving on that one yet. So it's between the linebacker and the safety, but it was too wide open. Just a lot of room on both ends. And it became an easy 18-yard completion. Then you had the penalty on Igbenogany for pass interference, legit pass interference, gives him the first down at the 3 yard line. It was the second one of the day. And he's actually in good position. He rides the guy inside, cuts back out to the outside. That's when he feels like he's beaten. He just kept running at him, runs into him. Easy penalty, first and goal from the 3. And after a good play by Dorrance Armstrong on the run by Trey Lance, then you have the touchdown pass. Now, on this one, I actually like how they tried to defend it. You have a bunch formation on the left. I like the way Washington handled it. There was it wasn't just a automatic point on point, et cetera. They played it inside out, and you have Sammer still ends up on the guy who cuts touchdown pass, who's coming from the outside. Excuse me, coming from the point. Okay, I'm getting that mixed up. So on that play, you have Sam Still is on the outside, so they're basically covering the bunch with he's on the outside of it. Somebody at Igbenogany's up on the point, and then I think it was St. Juice who's on the other side. But Tolbert releases inside. He's the point. He releases inside, and you have Sam Still come up on him, and just a good job of coordination with the coverage, I guess. They did what they're supposed to do, but Tolbert looks like he's going to run something different and just turns and comes back for the ball, touchdown. And I don't know that it caught San Francisco by surprise necessarily, but it was a good job by him. But the problem I have with this is that there's no rush. It's too clean of a pocket. And too often I was seeing the ends sometimes would pinch the quarterback here. I think even on this play, they did pinch Cooper Rush. The problem is tackles are like, they're getting no penetration. So you never made him uncomfortable. That's why I picked that as like a key drive, because it was points. It gave him the lead, but it also highlighted some of the issues there. And it was a lot was just clean pockets too often. But also you take you go out and you go score, and then you give it right back up, and you miss the extra point, they make it. Now you're playing catch up. So even if it's a 1 point lead in that game, you knew how hard things were for them, that became a big deal. So that's why I wanted to pick that as the second one. Listen, folks, if you got different key plays of the game, because there are many, you get different key plays, different key drives, let me know in the comments, because I do want to hear, like, this is just my opinion, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it. And I also know there's other drives I could have mentioned. There are other plays I could have mentioned. I mean, shoot, Terry McLaurin's should have been the play of the game, because for obvious reasons. And then it was left, wasted because of a missed extra point. How about that? Anyway, a couple other thoughts. And one thing I say, and Dan Orlovsky talked about this on ESPN about the need to get McLaurin the ball early. We know that. So one thing I'll say too, early in the year, like, they weren't always getting it to him, and things were rolling. Like, they were getting him the ball, but not always as many targets. He wasn't getting a ton of targets because they're spreading it around. That was the beauty of this offense. They were spreading the ball around, and they were being productive without McLaurin needing to get however many targets, but he was still on pace to have his best year. And even in the Giants game, he had two catches for 19 yards. Both were touchdowns, but only 2 for 19. Yet they scored 27 points, and they were taking a knee inside the 5 to end that game. So they moved the ball. They were having success. But when things aren't working, you need to get a guy who can energize you. Like, that's great to go that route when it's not working. When it is working, when you're scoring, you're getting points. Okay. But now you're not in that situation. You need momentum. You need energy. And one thing Dan Quinn talked about, again, the identity, the energy, and all that. Well, who gives that to you? I think it's McLaurin. So you need to do a better job of getting him some touches early in the game. The one thing I've talked to people in the past with them is like just how much more into the game mentally a player is, and even McLaurin is, when you're getting touches early, and how it affects other aspects of your game, because maybe now you start pressing. And I know he's not one who also often goes to coaches and says anything, but he will talk about it with us. And coaches know that he talks about it like that. So they know how he's thinking. And whether or not he goes to him or not, but we also know that it's important to get him involved when things aren't going well. He's the guy when, in case of emergency, break glass. That's your break glass guy. So when it's going well, okay, the targets aren't as big an issue. And we weren't talking about, oh my God, he's lining up on the left all this time. Well, again, I told you the other day, for him, he's like he has more route options on the left than he's had in the past. So it wasn't as detrimental to him. And besides, like there are a handful of times where you look at like, yeah, you could have gone to him here. So it wasn't because, to me, it wasn't always because Dallas took him away. I thought Philly took him out of the game. And that's one where I felt like you had to do some other things designed to get him back in the game, whether it's motioning him to certain spots to let him run routes from there. But this time, Dallas, I don't think was taking him out of the game. I think other factors were not getting enough plays. A third down passing, it's been bad. For whatever reason, we're not putting it all on one person, but it has been bad. That's why they've been bad on third downs, and some of that could be more third and longs. Also, I think it's just there was a better rhythm, and I think Jaden being able to use his legs more in some of those situations, which they're really kind of doing a good job to take that away. Again, a lot of five-man rushes designed for that. Then I think they'd rather have him try and beat you with his arm than make plays with those legs. So, but I think the bottom line is you got to get the ball to McLaurin early if things aren't going right. And especially right now, it's not going well. So what can you do better to do that? And I think even for him, it can lead to better run blocking because I'll be honest, like the run blocking by him is up and down, and you could see it sometimes impacting other runs. But so get him involved early, get him in that game early, provide the energy for your team. I think that matters. And there were a couple of times, and again, Orlovsky pointed this out a couple of times where it's like, could Jaden have gone to him? There were some one-on-one situations. Take some of those shots. We saw it on the failed one that I brought up earlier. Was a good shot. There were a couple of other shots he had as well. Instead, one time he goes to Noah Brown, doesn't make the play. Listen, Noah Brown has made some plays. He can make big plays. So do you always have to go to McLaurin in those situations? No, you don't. But when things aren't going well and he's got a one-on-one, that's probably the guy you want to get to. But and then sometimes it's also which corner do you want to pick on too. So that also factors into it. But there were definitely times where yes, could that have happened? Yeah. I don't know that, but again, I just think a lot of it is he's the guy that can provide energy. And right now, like you look at the run game, we don't know about Brian Robinson. I'd be surprised about Eckler. So where is that energy going to come from? And he's the guy that I think can get you going and needs to get you going. Like you can get him involved early, then to me, it would make a difference for this offense. I don't know that it makes the only difference because you're still going to have other issues. You can't just feed him the ball all game. That's just not how this offense is designed to work. And I think when he's been in those situations, it's usually because the offense is failing. I think the ideal thing is that 8, 9, 10 target range where he's getting the ball, he's involved, but you're able to get it to others as well. And the other thing is too, you depending on the run game, like they maybe it's funny because early in the year when they were really being highly productive, the run game was the powering that, right? Because like it was Cincinnati, Arizona, Cleveland. They were running the ball 80% of the time on first down and being highly productive because they were putting themselves in good situations. But they're not, lately it's been a lot more 50-50. And even Sunday it was 50-50 despite how it felt. It was 15 passes, 14 runs, I believe it was. And some of that just gets dependent on situations, right? But the bottom line is that run game has to do it. But if you don't have that, is it now time to maybe go a different way and just get that pass game, some quick throws going again, some of those quick hitches that they've had some success with early. Clearly teams know the Eagles knew they were going to try and go to Terry in those situations. They took that away, but that leaves somebody else open. So maybe you can get a little bit more tempo out of what you're doing to create some energy as well. I do think that I like where Jaden is at. I know that he's had some rough games or numbers wise, it hasn't been. He was on a historic completion percentage pace. That wasn't going to continue as a rookie. So I still like where he's at. I still like where he is headed. There he throws a lot of the touchdown pass to McLaurin was a really nice throw. The touchdown pass to Ertz was a really nice throw. He had another one that got him inside. Oh man, I'm going to forget who this was to. Hold on once. I'm going to stop this for a minute. I'm going to go check my notes again and tell you which play I'm talking about. Oh man. Okay. It was a throw to De'Ami Brown. It was a second down and 16. He had the 20-yard throw to Brown breaking inside. Just a really good anticipation throw and just a nice ball and 20-yard gain. So that was like you still see that. And then there were other times too where he missed on Zach Ertz. Now this is one that Orlovsky talked about where could he have gone to McLaurin? He had a one-on-one on the outside, but he also had Ertz available for a throw. He just missed it. So Ertz is breaking to the outside, and if you remember, it's down. I think it was before the missed field goal. So Ertz breaking out probably around the 20-yard line or so, something like that. But instead of angling it toward the side and leading him there, kind of threw it over his head and took him the back, and he overthrew him by like 5 yards. But on the play, which surprised me, that he was backing up on the throw and he kind of threw it and was leaning back after he threw it and backpedaling as if he was about to be hit. But there was nobody within several yards of him, and that's where I was like, that one was just that was a bad throw, and it was bad, whatever, right? So. But the one to Brown, terrific. The one to McLaurin, terrific. The one to Ertz for a touchdown, really good throw. So there's a lot of good in there still with him. The run game with him was good. That's going to need to be a key part. And I told you, like Pittsburgh and Philly, I felt like took that away. I knew Dallas would not. We'll see what Tennessee does with it this weekend because it has to be a part of their offense. Like he is the explosive guy, and they need somebody else. They need something else to spark this offense. You've got McLaurin. I think Noah Brown can be a good, solid third receiver for them moving forward. But in the future, in the offseason, this is an offseason discussion, can you find that one quick guy off the line who can get you some stuff underneath and maybe take something, turn a 5-yard catch into a longer game, whatever it is, just some other option there, some more energy injected into that offense. Because right now, the big play guy is number 5 still. And then obviously McLaurin can get you stuff too, but on a consistent basis. But 5 is going to have to be a big part for both the run and the pass. So can they incorporate that a little bit more and get that to be another part of the offense too? So anyway, but again, I like where he is at, and I think the question I have is with that offensive line and the run game, is it going to offer enough to really get this team over that hump? Because a couple of games ago, still looked like, they're going to be okay because you got Dallas coming in and Tennessee isn't playing well. Suddenly, you wonder where this is going. And so, like, you can't take anything for granted with this team at this point. The NFC is very weird. So just understand that. And they still have a couple games in the NFC. So you don't know where this is going. But the way they started 7-2, you'd like to see this team finish better. And just to build from going forward, right? This isn't not going to, they're obviously still on the playoff hunt. But you can look at a lot of NFC teams and say, oh, they don't deserve this. They're playing like this. Well, a lot of teams are. So somebody's got to make it. But I do think the key for this team is get back to playing good, efficient offensive football. Can you do that with the injuries that are starting to pile up? Like no team needs a bye more than this one. So if they can somehow gut it through against Tennessee, then you get that week off. Maybe that can get them back to better health for the final push. So and just get some momentum. That's why you see a huge game. Anyways, but I do, like I said, I like where number 5 is at. I like where he's going. I think there's still so much to like about him. And we'll see where it goes. So anyways, folks, that's it for me on this game review stuff. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something from it. Again, if you disagree with some of the play, or not even disagree, if you have your own version of key plays, driving the game, let me know. And any other thoughts you had. And I apologize for not getting more on the defense because I did trying to shorten my Mondays a little bit, but also there's just a lot there. And so I'm going to talk more about that on Tuesday, or excuse me, look at more of it on Tuesday and talk about some of that with Logan. So I'll be on with Logan on Wednesday. Again, no live stream on Tuesday night. I will have one next week. And there you go. So appreciate you tuning in. Talk to you next time.